in our company, we have 4 partners. I just assist all 3 of them in making sure that the wedding square, does a good job. Because, Indian weddings are not small. So bigger towns works better for Indian weddings.
And look at this beautiful, I love this.
Whenever I'm in trouble, I call Anushka, this is what needs to be done. And it's done. Stop thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a stupid thought, but
Express
it. Weather plays a very, very important role.
True.
We have done multiple weddings over the past 20-25 years, and we've always worked on plan B as we are working on plan A. In October, when we're looking at the forecast, we informed our clients that it's always 99% chance that it won't rain, but there's a 1% chance it might rain. You can't give the same value at a lower price. It has to match in our industry or in any industry per se.
Our industry, we always say, it's all about relationships. Really
you
successful.
Are the right person to answer.
I love that.
I'm joking.
Welcome to the Wedding Podcast Insider Series, and today what we are going to do is walk through into a wedding planner's office and see how it really happens behind the scenes, where people are working, brainstorming, what are the different departments, and the inside story in a wedding planner's office. Let me introduce you to whose office we are barging into.
So nice to see you. Welcome.
So guys, that's Nitin Mathur, the founder managing director of the Wedding Square, in whose office we are in Delhi. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I have known Nitin for a while. Nitin's been a veteran in the industry for the last 27 years. Yes, you heard it right. 27 years does not dekh ke lagta nahi hai that he's that old, but he has done some brilliant work in his erstwhile avatar with another brand. But in the last 2 years, he's built this beautiful company called the Wedding Square, where he works very differently with his team. He's one of those few agencies in the country which gives 360-degree solution as an agency. So they do their planning, they do their production, they do their design in-house, and they have an amazing pool of talent in their company. What we're going to do today is we're going to let Nitin lead this and walk us through his office, his departments, introduce to some of his team, and tell us how this whole planning process and what happens behind the scenes in a wedding planner's office. So Nitin?
Before that, let's go to our F&B zone.
Oh wow!
And have some...
That's interesting. On a hot day we need to have a drink maybe.
Right now we haven't got anything, but everything is in the icebox. You want something? I have a Coke, a thumbs up, a Nibu Pani.
Yeah, I don't mind a Nibu Pani.
This for you.
Thank you. So, this is so cool, guys. I mean, he has this like a bar set up in his office, and I'm sure during winters it must be super cool to chill.
During summers also,
Yeah.
4 p.m. to, we have put some mist fans and all. But during winters, 3 to 5 we work outside.
That's
So
so
we have
lovely.
a snack counter, someday we have, whatever the team decides. As far as the menu is concerned, we
Yeah.
order it and we have it here. Because it's sunlight, it's cheers. Cheers. So thank you, Aarti, coming to Delhi and then coming to
Really
our
amazing.
office
So
here.
cool, I mean, I love these windows, guys. So I think his love for French and France, and you can see, just look at the windows, you can see all of this is a lot of replica of what we've seen in
The French windows,
the French
Italian
windows.
architecture and
Yeah.
all. So when we saw this space, it was just a shell. And then when we all decided, we said, let's half the time we shouldn't be inside the office. We should be outside also in a courtyard,
Yeah.
having fun. So that's what we try to
I
create.
think this is one big difference that I always envy with Delhi versus Bombay.
space.
I mean, you really can do this in Delhi.
True.
To Mumbai to do this kind of an office takes quite a bit, and that's the reason why we
True.
had to come and experience this here with you.
True.
It's brilliant.
So this is our main design office, and we all
Lovely.
sit. Behind this, you have 2 small warehouses. which we call G1 and G2.
Okay.
So G1 is where the fabrics and everything else is done. G2 is where the furniture and all is done. And there's a warehouse called G3 where the major construction happens.
Oh, nice.
Of sets and everything.
Lovely.
Yeah, almost 55 to 60 people working.
Amazing.
And, you'll be surprised, they all are connected to each other. It's not like the carpenter knows someone in the village, he got a painter.
Yeah.
Painter knows a guy, so it's community building. That's very, very important. And everyone, in my office also, someone is known to someone and that's he or she is working.
And you're giving those kind of opportunities to your surrounding
that's what the skill is. The painter gets, 2 more guys from the village during peak time. The fabric guys get 4 more guys from their own village, in peak days. So that's how the entire community grows.
That's so amazing.
So it's important.
I do know you do something at the farm also. I'm going to talk to you about that later.
Please.
Deconstruct one project for us from beginning to start. Like, how do you start the process? How do you take it forward?
Firstly, thank you, Aarti, for coming to Delhi and to our office, which is our headquarters in India. So, to answer your question about deconstruction of an entire wedding, we'll start with the one which we have recently done in Srinagar. Basic process is, once you're confirmed, we have an extensive questionnaire for the clients, for the bride and the families, what they like, and the most important thing is what they don't like, which color they don't like, because then we get to know, the taste of the family, etc. And assuming that the layouts and the venues are confirmed, the production team works on the layout simultaneously with the mood boards.
Oh, that's lovely.
Because you can't have only the mood board and then you go there, we can't do this out here because the layout doesn't permit or the space doesn't permit. So for us, as a design team, layouts is as important as the mood boards.
That's very interesting.
So once you have the entire space management done, then the mood boards are done. Once mood board is finalized, then we start working on the detailing. And since you've seen the warehouse 1 and warehouse 2, one is a soft furnishing unit, one is a hard furnishing unit, and one is where the construction happens. So we have a small unit where we do the sampling of things, and we invite our clients. For example, if you're doing a welcome dinner or a welcome lunch, this is how the entire one table will look, a console table will look. This is how the backdrop is, a mini format with the color story, with the linen, with lighting, with candles, etc. So we give them the similar kind of experience as far as all the events are concerned. Once we sign off on that, then the work starts. Trucks are being loaded, and straight away we go to the site, whether it's in Delhi or somewhere out within India. So basically that's the process which we follow.
Yeah, that's so lovely to hear, because when you spoke about the mood board and the layout, I realized with AI now, it's so easy to create the most amazing mood boards, but practically sometimes if you're not really looking at the venue and the space management, a lot of it could be something you can't execute, and that can be very demotivating if you've already shown it to the bride and her heart is on that, So I think that's a very, very great move that you'll do. So this is where the design production department is concerned. In terms of the other departments, like when it comes to hospitality, logistics, what's the process that you all follow while this is happening?
So as far as the planning part is concerned, which is another vertical altogether, which we handle, in which we divide it into 3 parts, which is pre-wedding, during the wedding, and post the wedding. In pre-wedding, we have a team who handles the entire guest list management, which you are an expert, how it goes, how the Excel sheets are made. Luckily right now it's not automated, but I think within the next 1 year, I think India will have a full automation as far as hospitality management is concerned. But we work very closely with the hotel, which is very important, the room layouts, and getting into detail of everything. How many suitcases, what kind of is it a twin bed, it's connected, all the smaller details are how many interconnecting rooms, which floor, how near is the lift, for example, if we have elders, is it a silent zone, smoking, non-smoking, with balcony, without balcony, what view. Also we make clusters of guests, as you know, that, okay, these are friends, they'll stay in this zone.
Yeah.
They are corporate guests, they'll stay in this zone. They are core family members, they stay in this zone.
Yes.
The bride, with a few friends, the parents, they'll stay in this zone. So that's the basic process as far as hospitality management is concerned.
Yes.
And third most important thing is finance.
Yeah.
That is, sometimes you are lucky to get approvals on most of the things.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to convince the client that this is what is important. Because, you know, the client sometimes, you know, why I said about the layout, for example, if the guests are 500,
Yes.
they see a ballroom. It's okay for 500, but they forget that apart from those 500 people, you have another 100 who will be inside.
Absolutely.
Which is the staff, the planning, the wait staff, the camera crew, photographers, other shadows,
Yes.
food layouts, round tables. So that is where, you know, no, it's a huge layout, we can accommodate 500.
Yeah.
I said, no sir, we have to use the other pre-function area or the garden area, we have to move out.
True.
So that trust, you know, builds over a period of time. But once it's done, it's easy to deal with the clients in that
Correct.
manner.
So coming to the budgeting part of it, at what stage do you present an overall budget? Do clients expect it at the beginning when you are actually signing up the project and they want like a ballpark at that moment? I know broadly there's a certain question that always comes to all of us, even when you're meeting them the first time, that what do you think will be the cost if I do it at this place? I personally like to divide it in the fixed and the variables, but how do you handle it at your level?
It's a lot of competition,
Yeah.
right? There are many, and most of the clients, they are speaking to multiple planners, multiple design houses, etc. And they have a fair amount of idea what the cost will be. But having said that, you know, the price and value, it has to match.
True.
You can't give the same value at a lower price. It has to match in our industry or in any industry per se. As a rule, we give a ballpark figure.
Okay.
If we are doing this project, this is our fee, and this will be a rough, not fixed and variable. This will be a broad ballpark figure for the entire wedding, which will happen. It can go up, it can come down, depending upon once, you know, we go into detailing, etc., etc. But it's always, you know, be transparent with the client and give them an idea. And then if they don't have that budget, for example, then they will say, okay, it's not working out. If they have in the back of their mind, if they have more budget, they'll feel happy. Okay, ye to mera kam mein ho raha hai, so it's good. But which never happens. But it's always to be transparent with the clients and tell them that this is what it will cost.
That's so lovely. I think each agency has their own kind of approach, and I always tell most of my clients that a planner is a lot of more than anything a vibe. I mean, you got to click, you know, you got to understand what works. And I think as a planning agency, I'm sure you do that, and you do it brilliantly well, is to be very flexible in your approach and understand what works for which client, you know, and take that kind of a route. You know, sometimes, you know, they are very particular with their finance and they like it in a very systematic process, and there are some who probably are a little disorganized and we have to structure it right. I'm going to come back to my deconstruction question, and I want you to deconstruct, these were the departments that you told us about, which is brilliant, but one deconstruction on the side of while you were executing a project. You can take any wedding that probably you would have done recently or in the past, where what happens on the site after all of this pre-planning has been done?
It's a very good question. The entire deconstruction will take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I will tell you.
That's why I broke it in two parts.
I'll give you an example of how we do it, which is Plan A and Plan B.
Yes.
Which is, for me, Plan B is very important.
Absolutely.
And it's not only one person who decides the Plan B. Once you decide, then the entire team should know this is Plan B.
Correct.
Because if Plan A doesn't work, and Plan A and Plan B is specifically I'm talking about is the weather. You know,
yeah, I think that's the only contingency in today's times everybody needs to really bear in mind.
If it's an outdoor or an indoor for that matter, you know, weather plays a very, very important role.
True.
We have done multiple weddings over the past, you know, 20-25 years, and we've always worked on Plan B as we are working on Plan A, which I'll give you a few examples. In fact, a few years back in the month of January, we all know who are from North India, that mid-January to mid-February, it rains.
It rains.
100% it rains, and it's not end of January or mid of February. It can rain but that is the 5 to 7 days.
Okay.
And we were doing a wedding in North India, not in Delhi, but one of the cities. And in October, when we were looking at the forecast, we informed our clients that, so you're doing a very big function outdoor, spending a lot of money. We should have a superstructure,
okay,
which will minimize the risk. It's always 99% chance that it won't rain, but there's a 1% chance it might rain, and vice versa. But having told them again and again, showing the forecast, they said, no, it won't rain. We have direct connections with God. Rain gods, it won't rain. And we tried a lot. In fact, 10 days before the wedding also, we said, forecast says it will rain. He said, no, it won't. Unfortunately, one of the functions, it rained in the evening.
And we have to wash out.
And we had plan B, which was a ballroom, but ballroom was because it's a small town. It's a small ballroom. It was 1,000 guests. I can't accommodate more than 300 people. We had to use the ballroom, but we knew what the plan B was. But still, it's just about making one superstructure. I'll give you another example of a wedding which we're doing a few years back again in Udaipur. It was in October. And if you've done a lot of weddings, July, August, September, October, it rains, in Udaipur. We had a wedding set up in Jagmandir.
Okay.
Jagmandir is divided into two parts again, the courtyard. We convinced the client that, forecast says it will rain. We have to minimize the risk. Now, there comes the trust factor. The client said, okay, Nitin, if you and your team have so much, done your research, let's put a marquee. And installing a marquee in Jagmandir is not easy.
True.
It's a cost plus, board. It's a difficult
nightmare.
terrain altogether. But we had a marquee as a plan B. Fortunately, it never rained. The client said, Nitin, you have minimized my risk. If it would have rained, then it was a washout. So there were both cases of plan A and plan B.
No, I totally agree with you, because planning contingencies, which is especially weather, and nowadays with weather, you just can't say anything, a lot of hotels within the country were not built with keeping weddings as their prime business in mind, but weddings has become a very integral and important part of their business structure.
True.
And there is where the planners or design companies come in to make sure that each of these venues are thought of in a way that you can create something. Coming to destinations and the different kind of hotels that are coming, what's your experience? What's really catching up? What's happening? I know I have spoken of the Wed in India in a lot of our episodes, and though India is now given that is going to be the popular destination, but international doesn't stop. So what's really the newer destinations in your view?
India, we start with India.
Yeah.
Rajasthan is the key.
Of course.
Earlier it was Jaipur.
Yes.
Then it was Jodhpur and Udaipur, and now it's Jaisalmer.
Yeah.
So these are the 3 J's: Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, and Jaipur, which takes the cake as far as Rajasthan is concerned. Apart from that, Goa is another destination, because Indian weddings are not small. If it was only 100-150 people, then the destination,
we have plenty of options.
A lot of options, because with 150 you mean, we calculate, okay, 150 guests, which means we need only 40 to 50 vehicles. That's how we calculate logistics. We don't need a very big sound light equipment or a food equipment. That's because if you're doing it in a hill station, they are another logistical nightmare. So bigger towns works better for Indian weddings. As far as international destinations are concerned, Europe, in any case, we're in Vienna, Italy, France, and now Portugal is coming up in a big way. They are giving us a lot of focus on Indian weddings, and I think Portugal has seen 2 or 3 Indian weddings so far. But assuming in 2025 there will be more than a lot happening in Portugal. Not Lisbon, but Algarve or Porto or Madeira, these kind of destinations. Because connectivity will also improve, and the government is working on few incentive programs for Indian wedding planners and to work on that. We'll hear that soon from them.
Nitin, you've done a lot of work in Europe by far, and so in terms of cost between India and Europe, what is typically the difference one should expect in terms of percentage, or which are the areas that you see that the costs are higher internationally and more economical in India?
If you were to ask this question 3 years back,
Yeah.
my answer would have been very different. But right now, you'll be surprised if I'm doing in a palace or a villas property, and if I'm doing a wedding in Europe in a very fancy town, the cost difference is not more than 20%.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, because the hotel cost, the other things which will be required in an event, the difference is not much. It will be only 20% now. So we can easily say we are competing very well with the European market, or the other way around.
That's true.
But yeah, if this question was asked to me 2-3 years back, pre-COVID, then the difference was 50%.
Correct.
I'm not saying Europe has reduced the rates, but India has increased the rates. So that's how especially hotels, everything.
Even
everything.
airlines, yeah.
Because
Connectivity
the basic labor cost has gone up.
Yeah.
And therefore it's a domino effect which goes on to each and every aspect of or service, because we are into a service industry, everything goes up.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons.
Nitin, just one last question on deconstruction is in terms of design. I know you spoke to me about the layout and the mood board going hand in hand, but how do you all research your design? Like, is it that you all just sit and brainstorm? Because we did see how you all sit and work together. So every project you sit, work, plan, at what point the family enters into this discussion?
No, it's a very good question, but we do it slightly differently.
Okay.
We go for a vacation.
Oh, nice.
The creative team goes to a very quaint town. It can be anywhere.
You're raising the bar for the
but it is important.
Industry.
But it is important, and I've seen the difference. I've seen the difference when we are sitting in office and working. You've seen our office. It's not a standard office. True. You have a courtyard. You have a cart outside. You have a food area outside. We want each and every team member to be comfortable in their space. Now, back to your question, when you are sitting in any of the places, for example, in one of the hill stations, and the entire team is having a drink, and we're discussing about the ideas which come up, because it's much better. Because I always tell my team that don't stop thinking. Yeah. Maybe it's a stupid thought, but express it. Whether it is workable or not workable, that time will tell. Yeah. We have, our seniors, in our company, we have 4 partners. Ashim is there, who takes care of the production. Savita is also there. Shweta takes care of the design part. Yes. And I just assist all 3 of them in making sure that the wedding square, does a good job. But when we all are there in that small hotel where, we can see the sunrise and sunset, we clear skies, multiple stars in the night, the ideas are, it's not about Pinterest. Then the ideas are, you sketch it out there and then.
That's quite an interesting thing.
There and then.
That you make that time and you'll really step out.
We try to. Yeah. We want to do it for most of the weddings, but considering the time constraint, we do it for, I think, 1 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to do it for all the weddings.
But I'm sure now that you've offered, like, chalo, let's go for each of these. Also in our industry and in as an agency, our teams play the most important role, and you've created a great office, a great work culture for your team. I can see that. Your team seems to be in a very happy space. How do you manage your team? What are the different things? Give us some tips on, what are the different things one should be mindful of when handling a team?
I don't know how to answer this question, but I always say the positive vibes. Yeah. It's very important. When you are hiring someone, education on a resume works very well, but you have to connect with your team member. You have to connect with that person to understand. And the same goes with the clients also. Absolutely. If you don't connect, the vibes won't match. When the team is here, they come in the morning. Every morning we have 11 o'clock meeting. Wherever the person is, either he or she connects over a Zoom call. Whoever is in office goes to the conference room and connects. And we have it can be a long 11 to 11:30 or 12, or it can be a short 5-minute, just a session that good morning to everyone, because we don't come very early. Today, when you message, we'll be there at 8:30. Oh my God, you have no idea what, I said 8:30, so it's very early. It's midnight for us. But nevertheless, but when you connect with your team in a very positive manner, that's how you have to make sure that they are happy.
That's true.
Everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
Everything else falls into place.
That's so amazing. Nitin, each wedding is getting so much bigger, and every agency has these huge pressures of different and create something so unique. How do you create an USP, and what's your theory on this entire something different and something that stays with everybody?
USP, you mean usual silly problems?
I love that.
I'm joking. I'll tell you how we do it. For me, if an event starts at 8 p.m. and finishes at 4 a.m., it's an 8-hour long event. But I look at only for 2 minutes, which is, in those 2 minutes, as an event planner, as an event manager, we have, and you also must have experienced it because, we are from the same industry, and you have done similar kind of work which we have been doing. We have the power to have those 500 guests turn right, turn left, look up or look down with sound, light and entertainment. Imagine you're in a ballroom, we switch off all the lights and we have sound from one of the corners on the right hand side, and we switch on one spotlight there. Everyone, trust me, everyone, including the wait staff and the staff, will look on the right hand side, what's happening there, and then slowly you move it. And I've done it for when I've got the freedom from the clients. I've done it for multiple families. I'll tell you one instance, which was in Delhi, and the venue, it was a sit-down dinner. We had a pre-function area, and I always say when you are going into a very large space, you should go through a very narrow space, and then you feel that wow effect. So it was a sit-down dinner for around 100 guests. They all came on time. There were some speeches happening in the pre-function area, and then we opened the door. When you opened the door, you had only candles on that long table, and everything was dark. It was outdoor. You couldn't see anything. But fortunately, we had a water body, we had a fountain, we had a lot of nice trees, like an avenue trees surrounding that huge lake. When everyone walked out, after a few seconds, we just switched on one light, a spotlight on the left-hand side, with the sound on the left-hand side of the entire venue, and slowly and steadily the entire thing. So it was a very nice, elegant sound and light show with water, with light, and everyone looked. And during the middle, I think the third course or fourth course, the host came to me, can we do that sequence again? So that was my, I got a high from there. Like, wow, we did with the entire team. There were technicians who were involved. There were guys who were placed the light in the right position. And all the 100 guests were just looking at, wherever you wanted them to look. So that's the usual silly problem or a USP.
Your 2-minute theory, I loved it.
Thank you. That's what we've been doing successfully for some time.
That's amazing. The other thing, Nitin, I would like to understand is, our industry, we always say, it's all about relationships. Relationships with within the industry, the entire ecosystem, how we all operate. Planners are friends, they exchange notes, there is great relationships with vendors of different levels, with artists, so it's quite an ecosystem. But relationships with clients are as important, and I think that's sometimes it kind of really plays the largest role in making an event a really successful.
You are the right person to answer. Your relationships, I've heard, there have been instances, guys, you want to record, you don't want to record, but there were instances where she's the planner and I'm from the design house. I said, we can do this. I said, well, let Aarti come in, we'll take her advice and then we'll move ahead. So she's asking me this question.
No, I think I've always believed in relationships, and I built them over the years. I always feel that, I measure my success if the same family has come to me again and again. That's my success, measure that I'm really doing something right and doing good. But yeah, and I think I've always worked on relationships, you know that, Nitin.
Yeah.
But coming to you, I'd like to understand how is your thought on this and how does it work for you?
So see, it's a very new startup which we have done. It's almost 2 years as the Wedding Square with 4 of us.
But with guys, I have to say this. Don't get this wrong at all. He comes with an experience of 27 years, which I did introduce in the beginning. So 2 years is, of course, the Wedding Square, which is their new baby. And yeah, so continue.
Client relationships are very important.
Yeah.
Firstly, as you said, the business comes again and again, whether it's a social event or elder daughter's wedding, then younger daughter's wedding, son's wedding. But referrals are also as important.
True.
And these days, you'll be surprised. There's a client of mine, whom we really love. Recently, he wanted to go for a vacation somewhere, and he said, this is the first time where my entire family, we're all going together. I want to take 15 days off. You know what I like, what I don't like. Suggest a destination, suggest a hotel or a chateau or a chalet, and go for a recce. And we were there in Paris discussing it, and we went. I went for a recce trip, figured it out how the entire family will stay, who will stay in which room, organized everything, organized a 2-day plan. And I said, the rest of the 13 days, leave it open, because this is a vacation. You have to. But this is how relationship works.
Like, you're not only planning their events, but they literally rely on you for their holidays also.
It is the trust.
Yeah.
It is the trust. So that plays a very, very important role in any of the relationships.
That's so true. Every part of your office reflects of this European design statement. Look at this fireplace, kind of looks so lovely.
This is Savita and Shweta's idea. It's their favorite color. If you ask me and Ashim, हम बोलते हैं grey कर दो, blue कर दो, black कर दो. अब इस color का नाम क्या है? I have no idea.
It's such a pretty color.
I know. And this is a painting which was done by my daughter. And she said,
lovely.
This is a small studio where our team works.
Amazing.
This is a printer setup, stationery setup. Every person here has their own color.
Okay.
So Anushka or Jasleen or Khushi or Sumit, they have their own color of stationery. So their files of TWS is in a particular color. Someone likes pink, someone likes olive green, or someone likes grey, or blue, or white. It depends. But this was our first international project as TWS in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
At Emirates Palace, which is MO, Mangalore Oriental now. This was a pre-function area. You see everything. It has been created. So
I was just wondering, I've never seen this at Emirates Palace. So this was created?
This was created.
Lovely.
And I'll give you a very important raz. This person in the middle was not here.
Oh!
I was in a meeting. Some discussions were happening. My entire team made sure that they left the space.
And they photoshopped
this. And then I sat. It was clicked and it was photoshopped. I have a full documentation of this, and I'll show it to you. This is how it
Now that's called teamwork, guys.
That's what it is. Shweta, you met her? She's a co-founder.
Hi Shweta, how have you been? Of course I know Shweta.
She heads the design. So all the beautiful images which you see in our Insta and social media is all under the aegis of
I 100% know her designing capabilities.
Shweta and Savita. And there are a few of the images which we have done.
This is such a nice, cute. So this is your like a meeting space where you all brainstorm and work on your design.
Yes. If you're not on a holiday, then this is the place where we all.
Even if we are on holiday, still we are here.
Still we are here. But you see the images, that's Savita. She's in US at the moment.
Yes.
These are all 4 of us. Always happy times and positive times.
Oops, people in the news.
Yeah, that was one of the weddings which we had done in Raffles in Udaipur. That's Ashim and Manish.
People at work.
People at work. So you see, it was a huge event. It was almost 100,000 square feet of space. So the entire
was this in Bhopal?
Yeah.
This was in Bhopal. This photo is very close to our heart. It's all the 3 partners. I was not there. I was traveling at that time. But this was our first
event.
First event as TWS.
How lovely.
This one.
How lovely.
That was in Sukhvilas.
Yes.
Where I'm giving a Shah Rukh pose.
Now it's again Bhopal.
That's Bhopal.
That's Bhopal.
Lovely. Super. And there's more. I'm sure we are walking around.
Yes, I'll show you some other.
See you Shweta later. Bye.
This is the place where we
Of
all.
course, yes.
Sometimes, most of the times we have lunch. No, sorry. Sometimes we have lunch, but most of the times we have breakfast and after party.
Yeah.
Because,
Late night snacks.
nights, everything happens.
So
here.
cool. This is so lovely.
Thank you.
I just loved your office, Nitin. It's so amazing. And look at this beautiful glassware and so fancy. You know, one thing I must tell, Delhi versus Bombay mein na, I mean, I can keep talking about Delhi versus Bombay, but because your space, the way your style offices is amazing.
And sometimes we are very, very tense. We have
Yeah.
very bad meeting, then we have Xbox or PS5 and we just play a game and relax ourselves. But having said that, before we start our conversation,
Yeah, we have
formally,
to, yeah.
which they have all set it up, let's have some beer.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Each and everyone is invited. Let's open.
You know, we have a very tough job as planners. We have to
Which
eat.
reminds me, you remember Speakeasy in
Of
Paris?
course, of course. So we as planners, we work hard, but we party harder.
Yes, absolutely.
What a lovely office, Nitin. I'm so glad we've done this whole walkthrough and met your team, see everybody at work. And it just kind of gives our entire audience the insights of a working, full-fledged wedding planner's office. So on that note, we're going to call this a wrap, but we've had an amazing time in your office with your
Thank
team.
you.
Thank you for letting us into your space once again, because I know it's not easy. We've literally, interrupted your working day
No,
today.
come on.
But I think this was really important for our audience to get a sense of actually a planner's office, and a planner who does not do just planning, but is, multi-talented with doing design in-house, production in-house. There are very few agencies who really cover the entire 360 degree. And
thank you so much.
You're doing it very well, Nitin. So
Thank
you. Kudos, more power to you.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank you for all the love you've shown us. And thanks to each and every one of you. The sound, the light, the technical, hey, spot boy, makeup. Thank you, guys.